Been a long time. Been a long time since I went like this in a congregation in the sanctuary, responded. It's nice to be back here with all of you. Now, I may have a tendency through my sermon to be looking in this direction a lot, so I'm going to apologize. My grandchildren, some of them are sitting over here, so yeah, what am I going to do? You all forgive me this? Okay. 4 days ago, the fall season began. Even those who are red, green, colorblind, mainly men like myself, marvel at the beauty of the changing colors. Leaves are beginning to fall. Yards will soon be filled with those overstuffed bags. As we all know, falling leaves do not recognize property lines, reminding me of this story. On one neighbor's land, there was a beautiful tree, much loved by the owner. Unfortunately, the tree was filled with those little berries that had a tendency to fall where? On the property of the neighbor. Some of you are shaking your heads. You have that? Raise your hands if you have that problem. I can't really help you tonight. Harmonious relationships had existed for many years until the neighbor who was cursed each year with berries decided that it was time for the offending tree to be removed. The conflict became rather heated, and eventually it found its way into the court system. Evidence was presented beautifully by both sides. There were tears in the eyes of the tree owner as she described the moment of planting. It was placed in the soil on the moment when my child was born in the middle of the winter. It is a marvel of its species. The other side, presented by an equally winning participant, described how the berries always ended up on her picnic table. She spoke of her driveway and her deck, describing the cleaning and labor involved in removing the crimson stains. The jury, and this was a jury trial, heard all of the evidence, and they went out to deliberate. After a short period of discussion, the jury forewoman, an elderly Jewish woman, stood up. The question was asked, "Have you reached a verdict?" And she replied, "Your Honor, the jury has decided that we don't want to get involved." Today on Rosh Hashanah, the birthday of the world, unlike the members of the jury, each one of us is called upon to make decisions. During 10 days of sacred introspection, we are challenged to chart the path for the year that is about to unfold. From Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur, with Jews around the world, we are called upon to consider not only the problems we face, the berries that stained our deck of life, our personal failures, but also to begin to look to the future with gratitude for our blessings and forgiveness in our hearts. Consider the power of gratitude. For all of us, the past 3 years have presented burdens that few of us could have ever imagined. Like the plagues of ancient Egypt, a pandemic swept across our land. The numbers who have died in our country and around the world as numerous as as the sands and the grains of sands on the beaches. As this new year begins, and for all of us, pandemic fears lessen, let us continue to remember the lessons learned, beginning with the important lesson of gratitude. Gratitude to the medical professionals who every day treated patients under conditions so severe that some have told me that it felt like they were experiencing PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, not unlike soldiers who in battle went every day to face moments in people's lives that none of us really can imagine. Gratitude to teachers who face the impossible task of creating meaningful curriculum to stay in touch with our children over Zoom. Gratitude to the men and women who stocked our stores with food or delivered it to our homes. Gratitude to clergy who created services and served our communities, bringing light so often into days of darkness. And perhaps most importantly, gratitude to those in our family who by their presence cushioned our pain during these last very difficult and trying years. As our new year begins, we must not forget those who did the heavy lifting during these difficult years. Continue to thank the men and women stocking the shelves in the supermarket when you're walking in, or the person filling our bags at the end of the counter. Understand that the nurse wants to come to your room the moment you ring the bell, but may be overwhelmed at the moment. Hospital systems are desperate to find nurses and staff to fill open positions, as are so many businesses. Support our teachers. The highest calling is guiding the next generation of our children and our grandchildren. Healthcare and teaching are two professions in desperate need of replacements. How many of you know or have friends or perhaps have yourselves retired, too exhausted to continue? Some of you may have seen the story of gratitude and blessing reported on ESPN College Game Day. That was a sign for me to take a sip of water, by the way. Eric All, Michigan's tight end, and Mia gave birth to a son whose name is Houston, just before the opening game at Michigan Stadium in Ann Arbor. After the game, Eric met firefighter Tom Royals, who saved his life over 21 years ago. First responders rescued Eric from a burning home in Richmond, Indiana on February 13th, 2001. This firefighter resuscitated the 5-month-old baby. Gratitude for a newborn, a healthy baby. Gratitude for a firefighter whose skill and bravery saved his life. In our comfortable sanctuary, in our comfortable homes, we must never forget the men and women who wear the uniform: police, fire, armed forces, those who are outside our synagogue, our temple this evening, assuring our safety, those who save lives and those who bravely defend our democracy. Gratitude is the beginning. Consider now forgiveness. On Rosh Hashanah, this birthday of the world, we recognize that we did not always live up to our highest values. Too many of us have found that anger and arrogance have become the tools we have used when dealing with family and with friends. As the new year begins, aware of our failings, we are presented with the opportunity to forgive ourselves for being less than perfect. We are asked to offer apology to those whose feelings we have hurt or whose self-worth we have diminished by our insensitivity and often by our wicked sense of superiority. Rabbi Karen Kadar in a Devar Torah wrote, "Forgiveness is a gift we give ourselves." We begin to release the anger and resentment that take up so much space in the territory of our spirit. With forgiveness, we begin the long process of healing. Whenever possible and appropriate, it is better to live with softness than harshness, to let go rather than to clench, to open our hearts to the beauty in this world. Forgiveness requires a decision to live with less hurt, less resentment, and more love. Gratitude, when paired with forgiveness, can provide a path to a more meaningful and kinder life for all of us. Gratitude requires appreciation, requires for us to appreciate that which is done for us on a daily basis by our children, by our parents, by our family, and by our friends. Forgiveness requires us to act, to heal relationships one individual at a time. So I'm going to suggest that during these next 10 days, move from abstract consideration to real action. Is there someone you should call in an effort to rebuild a friendship? Would your life be better if you reconnected with someone who's been distant from you, but is so important and was important in the past? At your dinner table this evening, and I know you're beginning to be a little hungry, speak less about politics and sports. You know why, right? I'll repeat that line. At your dinner tables this evening, speak less about politics and sports. Focus on what you really want to accomplish in the year ahead, what you are willing to do to take care of the people you love. No matter how challenging the task, no matter how many missed opportunities in the past. 1 week ago, the world was captivated by the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II. A great deal has been written about her 70 years of service, her 96 years of life. Gratitude and appreciation offered by heads of state and those who stood in line for 24 hours simply to stop by her coffin and to offer a prayer. During a week that, as has been reported, was choreographed by the Queen, we did for a moment grasp and glimpse the possibility of forgiveness. We viewed a family, 2 brothers and wives, royal but not that much different than ours, through vigil and prayer demonstrating the possibility of healing painful wounds. During this season, the season of fall, the leaves are going to and are beginning to perform their magic, changing color every day around us as they gently drift to the ground. Once again, on this Rosh Hashanah, a new beginning, we have the opportunity to remind ourselves to be grateful for our many blessings and to share that gratitude around the table this evening with those you love. We have the opportunity to find happiness and, I believe, real relief in forgiveness as we families gather together, and as we gently color our world with love. The Shana Tova, wishing you a happy and healthy new year. Let us go from strength to strength. Amen.